problem.
me.
No, wait, this is the problem. This is the problem with our podcast. We're so behind, we missed like the greatest social media event of all time. And I had to listen to every single human being have a take about the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air smacking the shit out of Chris Rock. And I was like, I have a podcast. I want to have an opinion about. I'm like, I'm a stupid, unqualified person who can make like opinions about shit that doesn't have anything to do with me. Come on. I'm like, we gotta record one. So it's gonna be like a month old by the time this comes out.
Oh my God. Okay. This is half of your podcast. This is half of your baby. I'm letting you do this. But
it's just like, I'm like, you know what? Let's be honest. The real story at a certain point became the takes, right? Like it wasn't even the thing anymore. It was every single influencer, YouTuber, person on Twitter. Like Twitter was inundated, and I don't even use Twitter, but when I would pop in for 15 minutes, I go, oh shit, everybody has a take on this.
Yeah, I feel like I feel like normally these things would just be like, oh, like someone smacks him at the Oscars. Okay, next story. But because like recent news has been so heavy, people were just delighted that some two clowns just went and clowned in front of everybody.
Celebrities were taking the piss out of each other.
Yeah, and it was so stupid and like had absolutely no stakes in reality that like everyone just wanted to talk about it. So.
There is that, but there's also something that I noticed, which is that some people kind of took it personally in how they took whatever side that they took.
Yeah.
And here is my analysis of that situation.
Okay.
Everyone, like, I think two of the most universal or like prevalent fears are physical confrontation that you cannot handle and public humiliation. Mm-hmm. And I think that everyone who's more afraid of a physical confrontation that you're not able to handle sided with Chris Rock, and everyone who's more afraid of public humiliation that you can't handle sided with Jada and Will. You think that's an accurate assessment of people?
I don't know. I guess I haven't thought of it. Here's the thing, that at one point I'm like, I just don't fucking care anymore. Stop talking about it. I guess... Here's the problem though, is like I feel like this is one of those questions like I would really have to like know someone to like if that was true or not, and like most of the time people talking about it like I don't know them.
People online was one thing, but like I talked about me and my girlfriend talked about it, me and all my friends talked about it, family members were texting me, like it was almost that thing of like, where were you when it happened? Like the night one of my friends was like, Will Smith just went on stage and hit Chris Rock. And I'm like, this is a joke. When I saw the video, I'm like, is this fake? Did this really happen? But in talking about it with people I actually know, that's kind of where that realization first popped up. But even when I look at people I don't know online, you look at some of the other tweets or things that they made, and I go, oh, okay, this is like a theme for that person.
Are you rocketing up into space back there? What's going on?
There is a person with a very shitty car who lives down to my every fucking morning, and they go to work at like 5:30 in the morning. So that's just like, it's everybody's alarm clock for the entire building.
That's a car so shitty it becomes your problem, you know?
It's the entire zip code's problem at this point. And I don't know how they start it, but I just assume they pull like a cord, like on a lawnmower, like an old lawnmower.
It sounds like it. Like you have to hit it a couple times and curse as you start.
And the thing is, I've never seen the car, so I just assume it's like one of those vehicles from Mad Max that has like a plane propeller on the back.
It is actually just a plane, but it doesn't fly very well, so they just drive it around.
Just a fucking guy with a skull painted on his face, playing a guitar, banging his head.
Oh God. Well, did you have more on the Will Smith thing? Because we got interrupted rudely by your Mad Max name.
It's Will Smith riding into his car like, don't you fucking talk about me.
Keep my name out of your fucking mouth.
I love the memes. I will say this. I love the fucking memes. Whoever did the thing of they took a clip of Chris Rock at the Kids' Choice Awards in 2006. he got some kind of like overrated award or something like that, and he's like, I think Will Smith got this award last year, and they cut to the video of Will, but they put like the same VHS grain of the 2006 footage with the logo in the corner. It cuts so perfectly. You would have thought it was real for a second. I go, people are so fucking talented with the memes, and the speed with which people were churning out memes was hilarious.
I loved the my personal favorite was like Chris Rock voice like the zebra in like some fucking movie. I forget what it is now.
That's right. Yeah.
And then Will Smith voiced like the fish from Shark's Tale or whatever the fuck it was. So it was the fish smacking the zebra.
It was so real time ragdoll physics. Somebody did one of those. Where Will Smith smacks Chris Rock and it just looks like Fallout 4 enemies when they die. They just get rocketed across the room. A lot of it from that standpoint was very entertaining. I don't know that I have a serious opinion on it, other than that violence is not a response to what people are saying. I thought that was ridiculous, but I don't know these people. I'm not taking sides for any of them.
It's just so talked about at this point. I think I want my take to be I don't give a shit. That's my public opinion. I just don't give. I have the Daniel Radcliffe opinion. We'll go with that one.
Wait, what's the Daniel Radcliffe opinion?
Oh, someone like in an interview asked Daniel Radcliffe, like, what do you think? And he just basically said, I'm so tired of people talking about this. I don't have an opinion. Please, let's go to the next question or something like that.
He's like, when is Harry Potter 8 coming out?
Let's talk about Harry. Actually, though, like, he's actually made a career of himself past Harry Potter. So, like, good for him. He does, like, where he's in, like, a bunch of, like, weird indie movies. Like, have you seen Swiss Army Man?
No.
Do you want to see Daniel Radcliffe playing Farting Corpse? No, I am not pulling your leg here.
I don't think so.
It's actually a decent movie. That's what's kind of fucked up about it. It's kind of fun. But no, like he's in a lot of like weird little indie movies, and like, yeah, I have a couple of friends that are really into movies, and they're like, yeah, he's actually pretty good. So.
Oh, here's one thing I will say about the Will Smith situation. I didn't know the Oscars was happening.
Oh,
I didn't know it was on. I didn't know Will Smith was nominated. I didn't know what he was nominated for. I didn't know he made a movie called King Richard. Is that the name of the film?
Yeah,
about being the Venus sisters' father. And I didn't know Jada Pinkett Smith was bald.
Yeah, I didn't know any of that either, to be honest.
If this dude doesn't go, if the whole idea is that he wants to prevent people from taking a shit on his family or his wife, it's like the Streisand effect, right? It's like the complete opposite of what you would have wanted to do. I had no awareness of Jada Pinkett Smith being bald at all until Will Smith went up there and smacked Chris Rock. So it's a real statement on the fact that like the Oscars itself and celebrities and a lot of this stuff is becoming, it's just not as relevant anymore. The big movie, other than the Star Wars and Marvel franchises, that doesn't exist anymore. People care more about what the new streaming show is on HBO Max or Disney Plus than they do the Oscar films.
Well, here, okay, I take back. I have one take I want to take away from this. Let's turn the Oscars into just a wrestling show, and then random celebrities can just like go upstage and beat the shit out of each other. Maybe that might be interested.
Dana White said that, the UFC guy, the president of the UFC, said something to the effect of finally the Oscars are entertaining or something like that. I mean, he could help them with this. He could set it all up. Yeah,
let's do it. I want to see celebrities just get mad at each other over stupid shit and like, you know, maybe not actually hurt each other, but like, you know, pretend to, and we have a good sensible chuckle over it.
Yeah, and have clip Joe Rogan do the commentary.
Yeah. And here's
not
the thing,
actual
though. That's
Joe
only
Rogan.
Gonna work. Just the fake one.
Yeah, like don't actually get him. Someone has to reconstitute Joe Rogan because he's got thousands of hours of podcasts and UFC commentary. You have to take clips of Joe Rogan talking and stitch together commentary.
That could probably work. All right, we got a show to actually do here. We've been talking about this for a
All right, thank you everybody for indulging my need to be a part of the pop culture zeitgeist. You're welcome.
Oh God, from like a month ago, but that's us. All right. Hey, so I finally beat Mass Effect 3, so now we're gonna talk about it.
Hooray!
Okay. real quick, I at least want to tell the story of how I beat Mass Effect 3.
Yeah.
This whole place, because I played the series 1 through 3, since like I don't know, probably October. And my main goal with this is like, okay, I am going to romance Tali and take the synthesis ending. I also kind of want to do a Paragon run, which I kind of interpreted as I start out as Paragon and go into Renegade throughout the series, and I think that worked really well. I'm going into Mass Effect 3, and I take some of the more like Renegade options, like I killed all the Geth. That way Tali has her homeworld all to herself. I didn't cure the genophage, and like my main
You're like the Will Smith of Mass Effect.
Keep Tali's name out of your fucking mouth. And then I shot Legion. So
Somebody please take a clip of Shepard killing Legion and just put Will Smith, but with the Ghildirthalen logo on their chest and Chris Rock's face.
That was me playing Mass Effect 3. So, I'm going there, and like I for some reason I had it in my head that like Shepard's gonna die in the synthesis ending, so I'm gonna give Tali a home. My thing is, I'm gonna give Tali a home, and I had no idea that like Tali at the end, because like you have that thing, which we'll get to that in a bit, but they have the thing where like you're there with your love interest if they're in your party at the time. They're like they have to get shipped away or whatever, and you have like your tearful goodbye, and then Tali says like, "You are my home," and I'm sitting there like, "Oh no, wait, hold on, I think I fucked up. Oh no." It was really sad, and so I'm like, okay, like I'm emotionally invested. I'm doing this thing, and I'm getting up there, and then there's fucking Star Kid, and I have to hear his tirade, and I'm like, okay, time for the synthesis ending, and it is there at that exact moment I realized I did not have enough points for the synthesis ending.
That's right. Oh, holy shit. I think I saw your tweet about that or something like, and I was like, I forgot that that's the thing, because I always get the maximum war assets so I can, for the destroy ending.
Yeah, and I can't tell you how, like, I had, like, all these emotions, and I'm like, oh, I'm having a great time, and then just, like, the immediate crash was just so jarring of, like, oh, I fucked up. Oh, no. So basically, it ruined the ending. What did I do? I tried to mod it. It didn't work, so I basically just, like, replayed 4 hours of the game to...
Whoa, really? Wait, you can't just do a save editor to change your war assets?
I couldn't get it to work because the only save editor is for the original games. I just couldn't get it to work with Legendary Edition. Maybe it works, but I just couldn't get it to work.
Also it does the check. Well, it wouldn't have been 4 hours, but it checks your war assets when you start the final Priority Earth mission. But regardless, if you couldn't get the save editor to work, interesting, okay.
Yeah, thankfully I wasn't that far off. All I really had to do was go scan some planets or whatever, like find some things on the planets, and like that had me enough to do it. And unfortunately, I also like only had a save file because I shotgunned the last 2 missions, so I did not have a save file in between the Priority Earth and whatever the Cerberus one is. So I just had to replay both, and so that blue chunks. So
well, props to you for doing the RPG thing that I think with mods, it's been a while since I've had to do it, but it is like, that's an RPG thing where you're just like, fuck, am I going to replay several hours just to see the cutscene that I want to see? And you're like, yep, I sure am.
That's because like that was the whole point. And I either had, and like I'm sitting there like, well, maybe I should just do, this is now my control run. I'm like, wow, that's not, it just doesn't fit the character, was what I was aiming for, blah, 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 blah. I already did destroy, and I'm not going to survive anyway. I don't want to do that. So it just was like, and then I sat there like, maybe I just kill the kid, let's take out my frustrations, and now it's a whole thing.
Well, props to you for doing it. I mean, I've said this many times, we've talked about it many times before, and my, 15 runs of the trilogy?
Yeah.
Destroy. I've never taken anything else. I never will.
Really? Okay. Well, we can talk about that when we get to the ending. So I guess let's talk about the story now. Since you've played it 15 times, what do you think about the story?
Oh man, that really is the best way to phrase the question, because at this point I've talked about it on the show a bunch. I've talked about it in my own channel a bunch. The story of Mass Effect 3 to me is a really good story set within that theater of war, right? That's obviously what they were going for. They wanted to make it distinct. They wanted to make it that all-out conflict between the Reapers and all of the different species, and I think they capture that very well. I think they capture the themes of, war is actually galactic war, and I don't think it necessarily had to have been against the Reapers. It could have been another full-blown galactic war, but in particular, the setup of galactic war allows for a lot of the different themes and plot points and lore that has been so integral to the Mass Effect trilogy up to that point to come to a head. Because right from the point you reach the Citadel in Mass Effect 1, you are introduced instantly to these political relationships between all of these different species. So the Volus and the Elcor and the Turians and the Krogans and the Solarians and all, like, it's all so rife with like this under the surface tension. And I've always thought ME1 does a remarkable job of creating all of that, right? I mean, I've always felt that when you step into the world in ME1, it is a little bit info dumpy, but not nearly as much as it could have been based on how much information they're giving you. And so ME1 deserves all the props for setting that up, but what ME3 is doing is saying, okay, you've had all of these under the surface sort of tensions between these different species. What happens when you put that into the ultimate pressure cooker? What happens when you put that into a situation where, groups of any kind are most likely to look after itself when things get tough? And so you make a war story, and then you give the player the opportunity to sort of do the impossible and bring these somewhat disparate groups together. That's a really, really good fucking story. Yeah. Very well conceived of thematically and structurally, and fairly well executed. I would say fairly well executed. Score-wise, I guess I'm probably going a 6.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'll go a 6.
So, I agree with everything you said. However, there are just a couple story plots that I just didn't like so much. I feel like it brings down the rest of it, and those are Star Kid. Here's the thing. It's actually not so much the idea of him. I think it's just the voice actor. And maybe this is another thing. Like, if they just replaced it with something else, literally anything else, even just take the kid voice off. Because when you're listening to Star Kid, there you can hear the voices of Jennifer Hale and Mark Meer in the background, kind of echoing for some reason. I feel like if they just went with that and just not the kid at all, that would have worked a lot better. Maybe that goes in execution. But other things, I liked the race for the Crucible and that story plot, getting the designs for it, and the Crucible itself just kind of was confusing to me. And I feel like if it was something if they just changed it just a little bit, I was thinking what would make sense to me is if number one, Javik was just in the game and not DLC, and you got Javik at that first mission and he had the plans saying hey, this is this cool thing we have. They're you're literally a Prothean and these are the best choice we have, so we're going to fucking build it. That would make sense to me, I guess. But even that's who knows, maybe that wouldn't work. But just that whole, oh yeah, it was in this archive the entire time. We just didn't know it was there. I don't know. Since I get their explanation. They're yeah, we just didn't know what it was. I'm well, how do you know what it is now? I don't know. That's a whole thing. And then Kai Leng. Just that whole situation was, what was that? It just every time he showed up, I'm oh, it's that guy again. Okay, who are you? What? And I know he's in extended media. If you know the extended media, does he make any more sense?
Not in Mass Effect 3. He's way different and way better in the books, but in 3, it's almost worse.
Really? Oh god.
Yeah, because he's a good character in the books.
And then, yeah, he's just, he's just there. He just kind of shows up, and it honestly, it feels like he just popped in from a whole nother game, and is like, hey, I want you to play my game instead, so I'm gonna try to kill you, and it doesn't feel like he belongs in the universe, and it just doesn't make sense in the story, and so I kind of feel like there are a lot of good moments and story beats in Mass Effect 3, but I feel like it's like the first draft of the story, and like one more like scrub through and make. And I think you could salvage Kai Leng through a couple different edits. What those are, I don't know. I'm not a writer. How they got the Crucible and kind of a little bit of explanation of the Crucible would make a little bit better sense, because like, if they don't know what it is, why are they building it in the first? And like they're all saying like, yeah, we have no idea what this does. We're just building it. Like that kind of was weird, but I liked the gameplay mechanics, so I get why they just forced it. And then like the whole Star Kid thing of like, oh yeah, I'm the intelligence that does whatever the fuck. So okay, yeah. So I guess I don't think the story is anywhere near as tight as Mass Effect 2, and I think it makes less sense than Mass Effect 1. But I still like it better than 1. I don't know. I think I'm going to go with the 4 is what I'm saying. I'm going to tie it with Mass Effect 1 because I kind of like the story more. However, it makes way less sense.
Yeah. You know, the thing about the Crucible is it's a MacGuffin. It's clearly a MacGuffin. And the thing about it is that, like, in a movie like Pulp Fiction, you have a briefcase that opens up and it glows, and that's an overt MacGuffin. And that's a completely different genre, and it's a complete... Mass Effect doesn't have the... Mass Effect at no point ever had the tone in order to withstand an overt MacGuffin like that.
Yeah.
But the Crucible is unfortunately so clearly a MacGuffin that it's like it almost operates in that sense, where it's like... It's so weird the way it's even talked about, like you say, where... The people you're gathering, apparently the smartest people in the world, who keep saying that they don't know what they're doing and what they're building, but they're all working night and day around the clock. So, like, so what are you guys doing? Having a bunch of meetings? Like, are you just talking about what you think you should be doing? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I don't understand it. And I know the game doesn't either. So I feel like just a couple edits where, like, you let them... So, like, I guess how I would edit it is that Javik has the plans, and he's like, you have not had these before, but I am bringing these to you, blah, 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 blah. And then they know what the Crucible does the entire time, and then maybe there is, like, a gotcha at the end from Star Kid of, like, oh, well, blah, blah, blah. I don't even know what the gotcha would be, but, like, if we just knew what it was the entire time, like, that would not ruin any surprise, I think. But...
Oh, well... I think you're right about that. I guess, well, they didn't know. They wouldn't have known that it would have destroyed the mass relays. They just would have known that it was going to use the mass relays to deactivate the Reapers, let's say.
Yeah, just say that. Like, oh, it's going to use the mass... Oh, okay, yeah, that sounds really helpful, and we're going to do it. And then Star Kid comes up and is like, well, yeah, but your scientists didn't know that the mass relays were programmed to read it and would explode.
Yeah. No, you're right. They could have just explained it. It wouldn't have really changed anything.
Yeah, nothing would have changed. So, like, it's there's so, like, little changes that could have happened that just would have made it gel much more, that it kind of feels like they were kind of... I don't want to say it feels rushed, but it really does feel like this is the draft, the first draft of the story.
Is the ending a big problem for you one way or another?
Not really, because here's the thing. I think I completely understand the development point of, like, we have to kind of, like, you can have a bunch of choices in the middle and, like, things, whatever, but we all, like, for, like, money reasons, we kind of have to all kind of get to, like, you all get a picture slideshow that's a different color. That never actually bothered me. Now, granted, I only ever played with the extended edition. I never played it without it. Now playing the Melee, it's there forever. But, like, yeah, it could it have been done better? Sure, but, like, that is so far from my issues with the story that, like, it doesn't matter to me, I guess. Now, I am also not now, granted, I took the synthesis route this time. I'm also not, like, a huge fan of the synthesis route, just because it feels fake, I guess. Like, it's just kind of like, you know, it feels like thrown in at the last moment of like, we know this is a really sad story and some of you really just want a happy ending, so happy birthday, like this is for you. Like, it just kind of feels like everything works out except Shepard dies. Everything works out except Shepard dies. That doesn't make any sense. Nothing, like, it doesn't, I don't know. I don't think personally, I would totally get control and destroy. I feel like that is my canon ending. I feel like that's most people's canon ending. And then the synthesis is just kind of like, I wanted everything to work out in the end.
Yeah, I think destroy to me is the only I mean, again, I'm totally biased. People will tell me on Twitter that I'm wrong, but it's like, I think it's the only valid ending. And the synthesis ending, it's like, that's a happy ending from a particular point of view. I mean, you think about taking away the autonomy of every single sentient being in the galaxy. Not just everybody knows my anti-robot stance, but not even just making all the organics partly robot, but like, what about Legion and people who they like being synthetic? So you're making them, part organic? Like, it just kind of seems like a bad deal for everybody.
Yeah, but here's the thing, though. There are going to be some people that play this game, and then they don't really care about the meta. They just want to have a happy ending, and, like, that's all they want. I'm like, that's a great ending for them. That's perfect.
Legion's alive, Edie's alive, etc.
Yeah, that's perfect. You know, like, so I don't mind it. And then the control ending just to... I don't know. It's kind of weird and strange. And sure, and I don't know. I don't mind all the different endings. I think that they're definitely, like, I think control ending's perfect for if you want to play a true evil shepherd. Like, why not become a Reaper? Why not?
Yeah, and okay, so for the other sections, I feel like they'll be quicker, so I don't mind going a little bit longer on story if you don't.
Yeah, go for it.
Question, like you bring up the control ending. That's very interesting to me because the color scheme of the endings, and this has been talked about a lot, makes the control ending seem like that's the Paragon option because it's like colored in blue. Destroy looks like the Renegade option because it's all red, but the control option's that's a little Saturday morning cartoon villain, isn't it? Like,
yeah, no, it totally is.
That's just wild. Shepard becomes a digital god who's like controlling the Reapers and like, but I'm a good guy, so but you better watch out because I'm in control now. Yeah, it's weird.
No, I agree. I think you could kind of like make some sort of argument where like, well, yeah, we're just letting you, the player, know that sometimes the Paragon option wasn't always good, and we didn't mean that the blue is good, red bad. That's not what we always meant. You know, I can see something like they meant that, and it's like, sure, have at it.
You know, I mean, the Elusive Man thought control was the right option. Some people think Saren thought that synthesis was a good option. It even shows like it doesn't show Saren for synthesis, but it does flash the Elusive Man pretty prominently, I think, when you do control, whereas it flashes Anderson more prominently when you do destroy. People have read all sorts of detail into this. There is the indoctrination theory thing, which is so fun to think about. I don't think that's a knowing thing that the developers or the writers did, but it's a lot of fun to go down that rabbit hole and think about, like, try and read into certain things as though they're clues.
Yeah. I feel like we could talk about the indoctrination theory for like a whole episode. Maybe we actually end up doing that, so I don't really want to go too deep into it here.
The kid is I agree with you about the voice of the kid.
Yeah, awful.
It's not good.
Awful, not good.
And they do the thing where Shepard's voice, Jennifer Hale and Mark Meer are echoed over it. It's interesting, but it always just throws me off as like, I don't know. I don't know if there is supposed to be a deeper meaning to that. I don't know exactly what they're trying to say. It's just weird.
Yeah, here is my pitch for an ending. So like, you know, so the Crucible goes into the Catalyst. And it like creates like this weapon or whatever, or not the catalyst, whatever. I'm saying words wrong. You get what I mean. At the end of the game, the two things join, and now it's not the catalyst. I mean, it is the catalyst, but what the fuck is it called? Citadel. There it is. The Citadel becomes part of like the main weapon to defeat the Reapers, and that's when the Star Kid comes up. It's like, I am the AI. I am the first Reaper. I think what would have been so good maybe it's a bit cheesy, but I would have absolutely loved this if Star Kid, you take him, you boot him out. What the AI actually was Avina. And
okay.
Avina, this weird character that's just sitting there spouting exposition and knows everything about the Citadel the entire time, is actually the Reaper AI and has been watching you the entire time, has been there all 3 adventures, and now is giving you the choice. And and maybe you can have the voice actors for Avina actually start acting a little bit more and not just doing the computer voice. But I think that would have been much more compelling than Star Kid. Would that have been a good ending? I don't know, but I would have had a lot more fun than the kid.
I think all of that would have been more fun and more interesting than the kid. I think ultimately, like, the fundamental problem that they ran into was that they had these 2 very separate, distinct styles of science fiction that had sort of been running parallel throughout the franchise. And that is the sort of Lovecraftian cosmicism sort of style of science fiction where, like, exploring space is about this infinite unknown, and it's sort of dark, and there's like Cthulhu, and it's like monster at the end of the world. I made a video about this kind of. There's that, and then there's another sort of more. It's like Star Trek. It's like techie talkie, where like you explain everything to the audience very thoroughly. And those 2 branches of science fiction are very different. But Mass Effect was sort of homaging / pulling from, being influenced by both. And then at the end of this trilogy story, they needed a resolution. And so it's like, which one are you really? Are you the sort of dark, unknowable cosmicism science fiction? In which case, you do not explain the Reapers, right? That you would just stay away from that entirely. Yeah. Or are you more of the techie talkie? In which case, you are going to explain the Reapers, and you're going to bring it all sort of in. And I think based on what Mac Walters and Casey Hudson have said, is that they weren't sure how to balance that.
Yeah.
That they wanted to keep it high level and keep it kind of mysterious, but also Mass Effect is so much defined by this dialogue wheel and the ability to keep asking questions and have a 30-minute conversation and dig down into things. And if the end of Mass Effect is just a bunch of big fights and not a big conversation, that's kind of a letdown. So they needed a big, long conversation. And what else is that going to be but the player asking questions and presumably finally getting answers to everything. But, like, the Star Child still keeps saying shit like, this is beyond your comprehension and you wouldn't even understand anyway, but then sort of explains and uses shitty analogies, like, is a flame supposed to burn or whatever like that? It's like,
is
you're not a candle, bro. Like, so, yeah, I think they got stuck. I think they got stuck between being, each of those different types of science fiction, and they tried to straddle the line, and neither tradition is fully satisfied or lived up to.
I agree. Yeah, it's here's the thing. It's not a great ending, but I don't think it's as bad as everyone says. And I don't think I deserved the flack it got. Now maybe this is with the extended endings. Maybe without those I would feel differently. But like, I don't know.
We're almost a decade past. I think that the 10-year anniversary was just a little while ago for Mass Effect 3, and a decade after the fact, honestly, I don't really like. We're talking about it now because in my head I was like, well, we should probably talk about the ending if we're talking about Mass Effect 3 story, but it's not that important to me anymore. Like, to me, the importance of Mass Effect 3 story is, having a shooting contest with Garrus on top of the Citadel, or like, getting drunk with Tali, or like, the Citadel DLC. My God, like the Citadel DLC that to me is the ending,
Yeah. No, there's a lot of really good, just particularly companion moments that I just really liked. Oh, I wanted to bring this up. Probably, this was a long time ago, but we were talking about like romances with Garrus specifically, and I had my spiel on why I like the Garrus romance, and you had something about you didn't like the Garrus romance because Garrus was such a bro. So obviously this time I'm playing a dude, I'm romancing Tali, and I'm also doing I was doing a renegade run. So yeah, I didn't cure the genophage. And so, I didn't know this, but, at one point I go to talk to, Garrus, and he's like, I think we're talking about his family. And, then he just kind of brings up, he's like, hey man, like, Rex, what happened with Rex? He wouldn't just attack randomly. Is everything all right? And then you have the choice to tell Garrus the truth. And so I did. I'm like, well, yeah, I didn't cure the genophage, and he found out. And then Garrus, in just like a bro move, was like, damn, that sucks. And I loved that so much. Just like, he doesn't condone you, he doesn't condemn you. He just kind of goes, man, this war sucks. Like you were put in that position, and you had to kill. Like, this is just an awful. Like, I loved that, and I get why Garrus is such a bro, because I don't think I got. I mean, granted, when I was playing the romance, I also didn't do that option, but like, there was like it was like. While Garrus was always like, your bro, that moment was just like a solidified, like, all right, this shepherd would die for you. All right, good to know.
I love the fact that you mentioned that story in particular so much. We're all, I mean, we could say that we're talking about characters and relationships now because we kind of are. So
yeah, that's true.
We're on to section 2 in a way. But like, that Garrus moment is such a great illustration of why people like Garrus. Garrus, to me, is like one of those people who does not aspire to power or authority or prominence, but he's smart and capable, and he has the demeanor that just sort of makes him a good decision maker or a good person of action. And like, you think about where Garrus is at in Mass Effect 3, like, he's one of the important leaders for the entire Turian species. He's obviously at the thick of events with Shepard and crew, and he started off as a CSEC agent, and he's no less practical than he was when he started. He's probably a lot more practical, and his reaction to the player sort of being forced to kill Rex is like, you're right, he's not condoning it. He's just, and it's not that he's brushing it off. He just has this sort of, I don't know, somber but pragmatic reaction to the realities of war and how complex things are. Yeah. And to me, it's such a great statement of why, like, if you want to ask someone what they think, you would ask Garrus, because he's neither too sentimental and naive, but he's not too cutthroat either.
Yeah. So I loved that moment. That was so good. I don't really want to go into it because we have other things to go into, but I did forget that I also hated like the whole dream sequence with the kid. Not that I don't like the dream sequence as an idea, I just don't like the kid. Anyway, moving on.
So on that, I mean, Shepard is the protagonist, but Shepard's a character also, and I thought conceptually, yes, I think Shepard is a more interesting character as a protagonist if he or she is showing wear and tear, you know, physically, emotionally. I mean, they're a person, and I don't feel like, I know some people didn't like the fact that they're like, well, my Shepard wouldn't have nightmares. It's like, well, I mean, that's kind of an involuntary thing. They don't take the autonomy away from the player. Every time after you have one of those incidents, someone kind of asks you how you're feeling, and you have the option every time to be like, yeah, whatever, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Well, you can still role play that.
I don't mind the nightmare as an idea. I just think that chasing after a kid and then like just the kid isn't an emotional part at all. You know, like, I have no emotional connection to this kid, and I have a child. I should.
No, I was coming to. I totally agree with you about that part. Yeah. Like the content of the nightmare. Well, yes. Overall, the idea of chasing this kid that you had this 5-second interaction with, and all of a sudden it's like the thing that tortures Shepard. That to me felt a little bit forced. There are some parts of those dream sequences that I like.
Like the whispers or whatever.
Yeah, like if you killed Rex in Mass Effect 1.
Yeah.
Like, there's all kinds of stuff that's like, it's your whole past coming back to haunt you. And I thought that parts of that were well done, but overall, I don't think it should have been centered around this kid.
Yes. It definitely should have been centered around your choices or whatever. There's actually a mod that replaces the kid with either your love interest or like Cade and
the
Nash.
Vermeer survivor?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I haven't played with it, but I kind of want to.
That would make so much more sense. Okay, so more on characters and relationships. Do you want to talk about Tali romance? Do you want to talk about what's the thing that stands out for you?
I mean, I think the two standout was the Tali romance and Garrus. But I think everyone was well. There wasn't really like a character storyline of like, I don't know, I'm not like into it.
What about Vega?
Oh, I forgot about Vega, and you're right. I don't give a shit about Vega. Okay. I legitimately forgot he existed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's easy to do that.
Yeah,
it's
okay.
Easy to do
Let's
that.
talk about Vega for a second. What the fuck is up with Vega? Okay, I know it's kind of a meme right now for like those Mexican characters, like "Yo, loco, where the hell you been?" You know, that type of. He is that to a T, and it's just like I don't think it was maybe good at the time, and it definitely has not aged well. But like,
it wasn't good at the time, and it's aging like milk.
Yeah, and it's just like I know a couple bilingual people, particularly in Spanish, and like no one talks like he does. You know, it's just like none of this works on any level. Like it just, and then like he's just kind of there to be big strong man. I don't really know what his story does. Like he kind of tries to be like, I don't even know what to say, like not a foil, but he like talks with Cortez a lot, I guess. So I get to know Cortez more. Is that even his name? I forget his name, too.
Yeah, Steve Cortez.
Yeah. So, like, I don't know. He's just there, and I don't give a shit about Vega. I'm sorry. Like, there's some people that, like him, I guess. Maybe. Are you there? Who are you? Why do you like him? Let me know in the comments. But, yeah, I just... And I know it's kind of... Well, okay. I get that it'd be really hard to create a new character for Mass Effect 3 when you have like this whole series of characters you like, but they were able to do it with Trainer. Everyone likes Trainer. She's great.
Everyone loves Trainer.
Yeah. And so like it's not impossible to do. Maybe it's hard to do, but it's not impossible. And I think they whiffed it with Vega.
And also, I think a lot of people really like Cortez, and he's in the room being a part of the conversations. He's basically doing almost everything that Vega's doing.
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting that Cortez is, I think, a little more palatable than Vega. You know, I don't know if I've ever been able to put my thumb on what it is that doesn't work, because it's not Freddie Prinze Jr.
Yeah.
He's a fine actor.
Yeah,
and
he
I think
did fine.
He's doing what they're asking him to do. But I just think the character needed to be baked a little bit longer and maybe go through a couple more iterations.
Yeah, there's just something, it's like... I'm wondering... I'm kind of getting the gut feeling that my problem with Vega is very similar to Kai Leng, and that he's just kind of there and half-baked and... it not really connected to the story that well. Like Vega woke you up or whatever, and he brings it to the something, and you're like, oh, okay, who the fuck are you? But like, I here's my thing. Why did they even need a new character? Literally, just add anyone else. It could have been literally anybody else, and we would have been, oh, okay.
Sure.
We could have had Jacob back. It could have been literally anybody. Literally anybody.
Yeah, you're right. I completely agree. They could have been better off. I do have, I guess, a slightly different take on the analysis of why Vega doesn't work.
Uh-huh.
I've always suspected that Vega is actually meant to be like a veiled criticism of a archetype or of a person that the people writing the character don't properly understand.
Okay.
Or it's like a criticism without empathy, which always makes it seem shallow, which always makes it less effective of a criticism. Like, Vega's meant to be a bro, right? Like in the bad sense, like whereas Garrus is like bro in a good sense. Vega's, I guess, I don't know if people still say dude bro, but it's like it's meant to be a criticism of that guy, machismo, big, brash, a little bit young, a little bit petulant and headstrong. But it's a criticism without a lot of empathy and without a lot of understanding. And so even if you wanted it to be a scathing criticism, it would help if you actually understood what you're criticizing. It sort of seems like criticism from a distance. And it's shallow for that reason. And also, like, they try to weave in, like, redeemable qualities for him, but those almost feel cursory or obligatory.
Yeah.
Like, they don't want it to seem like they're criticizing, so they're like, well, he has some positive things there. And it never really feels integrated. It's almost like to me, this is a little bit Mass Effect Andromeda, but it almost feels like the opposite of Reyes. I feel like Reyes is almost meant to be like an adulation of an archetype that the writers don't necessarily understand.
Yeah.
But Vega is like, conceptually it makes sense. A younger character who maybe is sort of wants to rival Shepard but also looks up to them. Mm-hmm. That's actually kind of a good concept on paper, but it needed a lot more iteration, I think.
It did, yeah. So what would you rate the characters overall?
That is so tough to me. It's not as good as Mass Effect 2. The character interactions and the sort of things that you're getting to do with your characters is so much better than in Mass Effect 1 because they evolved. Like Bioware had evolved so much by that point that the character interactions are so much more in depth. I guess we're including DLC and everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, DLC is a separate category, but
I feel like because like Javik's just a whole character, he's just thrown in there, and then like with the Citadel, like it's
part of it now.
Yeah, it is. It is character interactions. Like I feel like the DLC will really talk more about Leviathan and Omega, but
God, this is a tough one. I guess I'm gonna have to go with the 6 at least.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going 6.
So basing on the fact that I gave Mass Effect 2 a 6, I'm going to have to give this a 5. But like I feel the same way as you. I'm just harsher on it just because like yeah, they added Vega. I no offense, I didn't really give a shit about Cortez either. Like hey, sorry about your husband. That really sucks. You're very sad. Yeah, the trainer was great. Loved her. She had things to do. But like there are things I like, there's I actually really liked the kind of the budding romance between Edie and Joker. All of like the wrap ups for the characters I thought were pretty solid. Now in the playthrough I recently did, I was reading up on a guide and I misunderstood it. So I missed like a ton of character interactions. Like I never got to say goodbye to Thane. No idea what happened. I mean, like I played it.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. That's such a great scene.
I missed that. I didn't get to see Caden in the hospital. Just missed that. Just a lot of things I missed. But yeah, I am also kind of annoyed that like no matter what you do, Liara is just always if you're not romancing Liara, you always kind of feel shamed into not romancing Liara, I feel like.
Because she's always pining after you.
Yeah, like it always just like comes off like that. And since she was my ex in the game, that kind of worked out a little bit, but it was still kind of strange. So yeah, there's a lot of good moments. I think Citadel was like the shining beacon of like, this is all the good character moments. And like it was kind of campy, but like in a good way, not like in a bad way. So like that was good. I don't know. So yeah, I agree with the 5. I liked a lot of the like the romance, Tali romance. Like Tali romance, like the main thing in Citadel is like you watch your favorite movie and have a sing along. I thought was so like cute and
yeah.
it was like sickly sweet, but like it also reminded me of something that I did to my poor husband. I made him watch my favorite Sailor Moon movie, and like we're like in our 20s or whatever, so like it's a little bit juvenile. So like I was like, oh, here's the part where she's about to use her heart crystal to do whatever, and he's like, oh, that's real nice, sweetheart. So like I was like kind of cringing because like I could feel myself. I have the memories of me doing that shit, but it was like I think I like Tali so much because I kind of am Tali a little bit, and I don't know how I feel about that.
That's what I mean when I say like the ways that you're given to interact with characters is so good in Mass Effect 3. Like they evolved it so much from Mass Effect 1, where even though I think the Mass Effect 1 crew technically has no weaknesses in it, the level of interaction you get in 3 is just so good.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's a lot. There's some things to be desired, but I think what the good there is very good. Anyway, let's move on to gameplay.
It's the best. I think it's the best in the entire saga. It's a 7. It's the perfection of the formula, right? It's the prime, detonate, prime. The balance of weapons versus powers is so good. The skill trees are back, or the progression trees are now back, whereas in Mass Effect 1 you have something more like an actual role-playing game, and then in Mass Effect 2 it was like this 5 upgrade trees that you had, and that's it. In 3 it's back. the weapon customization, the armor customizations, like having actual builds again that feel like they're distinct. Each of the companions being customizable in a way that will actually feel distinct, and just the feel of the shooting, the feel of the powers, the different enemy types. Reaper enemy types are freaking cool, man.
Yeah.
So all of those things combined, I think Andromeda actually has a real argument to be made for close to MA3. And at one point I was saying that it was Andromeda, but after having played the Legendary Edition again, I'm like, nah, you know what? Andromeda never should have taken out the ability to pause. Like, that was a real mistake. Like, that having the ability to pause is just such a good... It's just, it seems small, but it's really distinct in the Mass Effect combat. It makes it unique. And so I'm still going with MB3 as the best in the saga.
All right. I guess I sort of echo that. Now, I cannot remember the Andromeda thing, but I do remember it being fun. But yeah, I'm going to give it a 6 just because, like, I'm not a shooter fan. I just don't like guns because I have bad aim. That's on me. That's not on guns. Yeah, I just don't really like shooter games. I don't really find them fun. But I liked all the abilities, and I was actually using the abilities, which was, I did not use really the abilities in Mass Effect 1. But like it was, I had fun. It wasn't a slog. Mass Effect 1 was a slog. Mass Effect 2 was like, hey, this is pretty good. And Mass Effect 3 was like, okay, I'm actually engaging in this. I'm actually thinking about what I need to be doing. I'm actually using a lot of these abilities. I'm not like, there was at one point, I think in Mass Effect 2, I needed to like heal up, and I'm sitting there like, I don't know what the button it was. Like, I just didn't know what it was. There are a couple things that like just bothered me. Like, I feel like I kept going into cover accidentally when I didn't want to, but I feel like that's minor, and that also just might me being an idiot. Quite possible.
It's got a little bit of that Gears of War, like you're trying to sprint, but you keep getting stuck on cover. I feel like that was a product of the time.
Yeah, or like I want to jump over something, and then I just end up like going deeper into cover. I'm like, no, I just want to get up on a ledge. Yeah, I hate that, like jumping and getting up on a ledge and then crouching are all the same button, because I feel like no matter what I did, it was just not the right thing.
Yeah, it's like, I need to jump over this thing. Let me hide behind it first and then jump over it.
Yeah, I now going outside of like combat, I actually also really liked while the explanation of the Crucible was lacking, I actually quite liked the idea and like the gameplay of like, here's hard numbers on like how to get different endings and stuff like that, like how ready you are to feel. I thought that was really nice, and I liked like when you're searching for planets, where Mass Effect 2 is just like, okay, you're searching for planets for like different things, and like you use the materials to build stuff. At one point, like, you can search all these planets, but there's way more materials than you actually ever need. But now it's like I search all the planets, I'm actually getting rewards, and having to do that was also how I got the synthesis ending, so I actually like needed to do that. But like, you actually get rewards, you get things that like actually help you. I still don't know how I feel about like you constantly calling and then you get the Reapers. I guess I get kind of why they did it, but at the same time, it just kind of ended up being a bit annoying. So it's like, maybe this could have been a different thing. I don't know. But yeah, overall, I liked it. I was actually having quite a lot of fun with it. 10 out of 10. Not 10 out of 10, but like 6 out of 10. Whatever it was.
I agree with the gameplay of the sort of war readiness rating. I thought that was very well done. It made a lot of the ancillary stuff seem good.
Yeah.
It made even side conversations, you talk about how you're going to deal with X group, and coming out of that conversation, it's like, oh, okay, well, because you made this decision, here's a few more war assets or something like that. Yeah. I thought that was a great way to sort of tie many, even ones that are, whether or not you save the council in Mass Effect 1.
Yeah.
You get different war assets, and it's interesting if you ever look at what's the way to get the maximum war assets in Mass Effect 3, like throughout the trilogy, and that the decisions are very interesting. It's not necessarily Renegade, but maybe it's a little more Renegade than Paragon, and it's interesting.
I also like, there was almost like a joke where you're sitting there, Conrad Werner, and throughout the series, he's just some dumb idiot. And at the very end, he's like, oh, you know what? I wrote a research paper on dark matter. And you're like, war asset acquired. I'm like, what? He gives you a war asset? And then when you get there, where it's one. Just one. And I'm like, okay, that's hilarious.
Yeah, it's great. I think that's just one of those nice little add-ins that the war readiness feature kind of allows you to have. It's great.
Yeah, so I think that's a great addition. So I get why I feel like if the rest of the story was solid, but the Crucible line stayed the same because of the gameplay, I don't think I would mind it as much. Of all my story complaints, I would say Crucible is on the lowest just because it has the gameplay mechanic where you're like, okay, it's obviously a MacGuffin, but like I get it. I'm having fun with it, so I'm not going to complain. I kind of got that vibe from it.
All right, I guess we talk about execution and design.
Yeah, sure.
Let's oh, sorry, what were you guys saying?
No, you go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, execution and design. I still have more complaints about Kai Leng, so I feel like this is the place to put him.
Go for it.
We just keep bashing Kai Leng.
Yeah.
Because, part of what we talk about in execution and design, it's broad. It's like, the dialogue. It could be level design. It could be visual designs of characters, voice acting, music, a lot of different stuff we kind of chuck into this category. But a lot of it is applicable to Kai Leng because, like I said, conceptually, like in the books, for instance, he's a good character. He's a former special operative. He's menacing. He's not superhuman at all. He just seems like this really deadly sort of cutthroat mercenary. And he's always showing up at the worst time when Anderson and Kaylee Sanders are sort of like about to get away or about to do something good. Fucking Kai Leng shows up and he's just very imposing. Nobody can beat him in hand-to-hand combat. He's very good at setting traps, at stalking people, tracking people. He sort of becomes like this looming presence that you're always kind of worried is going to appear.
Uh-huh.
And in the fucking games, he has cybernetic armor and he has like a weird coattail thing and he's got these stupid like Oakley sunglasses mask thing going on.
Yeah.
And he has this voice. Like, my God, he has this stupid fucking voice. With all due respect, it's not a matter of the actor. I really don't think it is. I think it's a matter of the direction and it's a matter of the times where between, like, I don't know, 2008 and 2012, there was this gruff, tough man voice in video games that just showed up fucking everywhere.
Oh, you mean Christian Bale's Batman?
No, I don't even think it's... Well, maybe it is influenced by that, but I don't...
it was, but...
It's like, it's the voice of the guy in Infamous. It's the fucking guy from, what's it called? Watch Dogs 1.
Uh-huh.
It's like the gruff man, tough voice, gravelly voice, but it's really like breathy too. And it's just, it's so bad. And it just showed up everywhere. But that was like, he's a badass because he has this voice. And I just think it was a product of the time. And it really sucked then, but it gets worse every time you look back on it.
I guess I don't hate the voices much because, like, everything else just made no sense. I think my biggest thing is actually the ninja sword. Let's be real here. You bring a knife to a gunfight. If you're close enough, if you bring a knife to a gunfight and you're close enough range, you could actually fuck some people up. You will die, but you could get in some good hits.
Sure. Yeah.
So like I'm not saying that knives aren't deadly. I'm just saying that like it looks stupid. And it honestly reads in this year of our Lord 2022 that Kai Leng is just really obsessed with Naruto or whatever it's pronounced, and he like that's like he just like I'm gonna be a ninja in the future, and like nothing makes sense. It's kind of cringy, and it's like put a fedora on the guy. It makes it having Kai Leng be a weeb, that would be hilarious. He's just like an anime weeb, and like everything makes sense, and I would love him. It'd be great. But why are you a ninja? Where does that make sense? It doesn't make sense. And like you could have here's the thing, you could have easily just made it like a space sword. Like, oh, it's now a lightsaber. It shoots things. It's also a gun.
Sure.
Make it a gun blade. There were so many options you could have done to make it like if you really wanted that like sword aesthetic. Just make it like a gun. Give him a gun blade. Make him Squall from Final Fantasy VIII. Do literally anything else. The glasses and then the coattails. It just is so cringy looking. And then like the hairstyle's kind of strange too. I don't know. The whole kit and caboodle just doesn't. Yeah, there's a lot of other like design things that just like fell flat in his face, like the whole kid situation. That like we already talked about that. I don't know, just like
a lot. I think honestly, this is the weakest category for Mass Effect 3, which is weird because like there's a lot of other things where there are moments when Mass Effect 3 is definitely the best of the trilogy. And I think on paper, like in this sort of rating system, to me, my favorite is Mass Effect 1. But like in a rating system, I think Mass Effect 3 comes out looking very good when you rate it on paper.
Yeah.
But there is something about Mass Effect 3 that never feels quite right. Mm-hmm. And from the first time I ever played it, it's hard to put your finger on, right? Like when you go to do the priority Mars mission in the very beginning of the game, right after the Reapers arrive on Earth, something about that always feels fucking wrong.
Yes.
Because the Normandy moves without you going to the galaxy map. And I'm like, whoa, did I do something wrong? What's happening? I didn't want to go somewhere yet. Why the fuck is this ship going? I'm Commander Shepard. This ship does not move until I fucking tell it to move.
Well, if anything else, like, yeah, I completely agree. It was also, like, the emotional jarring of, like, Earth is being destroyed. Anyway, here's Liara. Look at that big boob chick. Isn't this weird? What's going on?
Everybody's going, did her boobs get bigger?
How did that happen? Huh.
Is that normal in Asari? Is she in her matron stage now? Is that what this means? Because you look at her mom, you go like, holy... Mass Effect 5 or whatever, Mass Effect 5 or whatever it's going to call when she's going to be a fucking matriarch. It's just going to be like...
She'll size F. Just
Dude, I'm not looking forward to that, by the way. Like, side note, this total sidebar conversation, I'm not looking forward to the fucking Bioware horny community. Big titty, mommy, milk, whatever, fucking Liara things. I'm not looking forward to that.
Look, we'll cross that bridge when we get to that horror.
Bunch of people who want to get stepped on. I'm not ready for this.
Because you said mommy milkers, that is going to be the entirety of our content. You know, like the comments. I mean, like all of the comments are going to be mommy milkers. Anyway, this is my point for you. Fill the chat up with mommy milkers, guys. You know what to do.
How dare you? First of all, how dare you?
Please comment, mommy milkers, and like and subscribe our podcast. Sorry. Okay. One thing I agree with you, and I feel like some of the strongest design choices for Mass Effect 3 carry over for Mass Effect 2. But one thing I thought was new to the game that they hit it out of the park is a lot of the creature design.
Yes.
The creature design when I first played it was stellar, and like I was generally scared of some of them, and like they look creepy. I don't think anything kind of like, I think Dragon Age, unfortunately, some of the Darkspawn, they go for creepy and it kind of just looks like a looks like a clown.
Right.
But like the Reapers, they all look creepy. The Leviathan, because now that I played that, looked creepy. A lot of that was solid. So whoever did the creature, and even the sound design for the creature, is like this banshee scream. Ooh, still don't like
Terrifying.
it. You don't like it?
Yeah, banshees are scary. That's a great thing to have in a game.
Yeah, and I think so. Yeah, sound design and creature design. You guys did good job. Kai Leng, not a fan. So
yeah, not so good on Kai Leng.
Yeah, I guess like I guess I'm going to give it a 5 because like there's a whole bunch of things that's really wrong. But like I just like it's almost like 5 for everything except for you, banshees. You get that 7, you know.
Banshees are creepy in cutscenes, like right when you're in Thessia and you're doing. I'm sorry, not Thessia. When you're doing Samara's
mission, yeah.
Especially the close up, you know, where she's wrapping. They put that in the trailer, right, where this banshee's like wrapping these long skeletal, jagged fingers around one of Samara's daughter's head. Mm-hmm. It's creepy as fuck. They're creepy as fuck, and they're worrisome. They make you a little nervous in combat because you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
That's a great combination. So props on the banshees. I'm gonna go low on this one because I think there's a lot that it's hard to explain, but you know the beginning of it is a little bit weird when you're going to Mars. The environments are small, like the hub area. Even though I appreciate what they kind of tried to do with the different levels on the Citadel, it's like most of the levels are like 2 hallways in it. Like when you go to the hospital, like that's a hallway.
Yeah.
When you go to the Commons, it's a little bit, the Presidium Commons, it's a little bit bigger, but like it just feels like the Citadel kept getting smaller and smaller in each game.
Yeah.
There's really no planet exploration.
Oh yeah.
You know, the Mass Effect 1, at least, I mean, I know it was generic and kind of bland, but like by the time Mass Effect 3 gets around, they've kind of given up on that. I think there did need to be more dialogue wheel options and not so many auto responses. Auto responses is another thing that kind of annoyed people about this. There are some things in Mass Effect 3 that actually become a little bit subpar.
Yeah.
As compared to the rest of the trilogy. Even things that no one ever likes to admit this, but even Andromeda did better. As far as like some of that dialogue wheel stuff, planet exploration, etc. Pains me to say this. Oh, and dialogue writing. Look, rewatch that opening scene where Shepard and Anderson are talking to this council of people from the Alliance. That is bad dialogue. It's not just that it's not good, it's bad. Right? Like this isn't about tactics and strategy. This is about survival. It's like, well, how are you going to fucking survive without any tactics or strategy? Like, that doesn't make any sense. We either fight or we die. It's like, you can die fighting also. I don't know if you realize that that's an option, but you could fight and die. Like,
you could do both.
Very possible.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of cheesy fucking, it's not good dialogue. So for a variety of reasons, I'm going to go with 3.
Ooh, okay.
On it. And there's parts of it that are not 3. The music is not a 3. The music is higher, but even taking that into account, like the rough edges of some of these things and like the dialogue and then not having better level design, like that drags it down.
Yeah.
The Kai Leng, the kid, the ending in a sense is execution based. A lot of that stuff brings it down to a 3 for me.
For I don't know, for those counting at home, that is the lowest score you have given anything Mass Effect yet.
In light of the Legendary Edition, I think that's correct.
Yeah.
I think I might have given gameplay a 3 on the original Mass Effect 1, but I think it's leagues better for me personally.
Yeah. Well, what about... Okay, so I played the DLC half the DLC for the first time just like a month ago. Now, Javik, I like Javik a lot. Should have been in the main game. Should not have been DLC. He just added so much to the story, and like he was such a cool character. It's a crime that he was literally a crime. They should go to jail. Not really, but like it was so neat. And same thing with the Citadel. And I get why the Citadel was DLC because that was like I get that. But like it is kind of like jarring to play like all this heavy stuff, and then you play Citadel and it's all happy and it's like kind of like funny. Has homages to the Mummy, which I didn't even know it did that. But so like. But it's such a good ride, and it's so fun that it was really good. So I guess I don't mind that. And okay, so then it was Omega and then Leviathan, and that's all of them, right? I'm not forgetting one.
Wait, say them again. It's Leviathan, Omega, Citadel,
and then Javik.
Am
I forgetting one? Let's look this up. All right.
No, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So, like, Omega. I guess I was expecting a lot out of Omega, and it had some really good moments. I will say, apparently, I got, like, the bad ending where, like, nothing changes or whatever, and, like, it... I guess, like, Omega was kind of fun, but in the end, I kind of just didn't care about it. Like, it was like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
I like Ari as a character. I think she's really neat. Nyreen was fine, and like taking it back was kind of cool, but like I just didn't care. I don't know. It just wasn't compelling to me. I don't know.
I can see that. I like Omega. I like Omega because it feels contained. Some people like it, don't like it because it doesn't feel like it has enough of an impact on the overall galaxy.
Yeah.
I like it well enough, but the fact that there are different endings, to me, is almost like part of it is kind of like how you build your relationship with Arya, but it's like Omega's gonna always be Omega. Like, I guess I just don't buy into the weight of the different endings. Like, we got to get Petrovsky off here. Like, he's crazy or whatever. So we're fighting Cerberus. As long as we do that, kind of, who cares how we do it? It's Omega. The whole point of it is that it's lawless, and we're not going to turn this place into a utopia. So what difference does it make? Let's just beat Cerberus. That's kind of how I always felt about it.
Yeah, and I did that, and I got like an ending where like Arya just kind of just doesn't give a shit, and like, here's your troops, and I go, oh, okay, thanks, bye, and like that was the.
That's fine. That's fine. I don't know. Like, I guess that's the bad ending, but that's fine.
Yeah, well, apparently people were saying like, oh, you could have like, Arya could have kissed you, you could have had like an emotional speech or whatever, and like none of that happened. So I was like, it did kind of feel really abrupt, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess that happened. I don't know. So I guess I'll have to look up the different endings. Maybe I should have done that. I don't know. But like, yeah, I just like with the ending, I was like, oh, okay. Then it's so. And I feel like Nyreen's death was kind of sudden. It was like, oh, you're just gonna explode. I get why you did that, but like,
yeah,
okay.
I do like it's like one of the only instances in Mass Effect really where your class gives you a dialogue option if you're an engineer.
I happen to be an engineer, so I didn't know that was like a thing. But
that's
I
awesome.
Yeah.
I wish there was so much more of that. It's legendary.
Yeah, I agree. That was really nice that you could do that. Now Leviathan, I actually really liked Leviathan. I thought like the mechanic of like going into his laboratory and like looking through stuff, like it was kind of like rudimentary, but I still had fun with it. Like the Cthulhu-esque, like, there's something controlling minds, and you're like going places and you're seeing this mind control. That was really neat. And then, like, the conversation with the Leviathan I thought was really cool. Like, that whole thing, actually, the only, like, thing I would give it negative points is actually my fault. It's, like, actually, like, because I was streaming it, I broke up playing in, like, the middle of it. And so, like, when I was getting back into it, I'm like, what was happening? What am I doing? And it kind of, like, cut out some of the emotion. So I kind of wish I just, like, shotgunned the whole thing. But, like, I actually really liked that one. That might be my favorite Mass Effect DLC.
Leviathan Leviathan helps contextualize the ending more than the extended cut does.
Yeah, no, it does. Like, I think it did a better job of like giving you that, like, how do I explain? You said that like Mass Effect kind of rides the line of like the Cthulhu-esque versus the Star Trek, and I feel like Leviathan rides that line better than Starkid ever did.
Yeah, that's exactly. If you're gonna try and connect the two, that's actually kind of the way to do it.
Yeah.
The research aspect of it is also kind of cool. Like, you kind of get clues and add it to filters, and that's like light detective gameplay. But I enjoyed that.
I did too. Yeah.
I will just say, I mean, I don't know what your score is going to be. I feel like the DLC is like a very, very strong point of Mass Effect 3. Mm-hmm. I feel like Citadel is the Trespasser of Mass Effect. Those two DLCs are completely different in tone and plot and everything, but it's like Citadel is the thing that's for the fans in a way, and it shows you. It shows you your companions, not necessarily like a jump in time the way the Trespasser does, but it kind of shows you what you hope they're like post-adventure. And it was also exactly what the community needed to, not to sound over-dramatic about it, but like quote-unquote heal from the Mass Effect 3 ending controversy.
Yeah.
I feel like most of the community who's really like Bioware Mass Effect fans was like, okay, all is forgiven because of this.
Yeah.
Whereas like maybe the outside general gamer community is like, oh yeah, the Mass Effect 3 ending sucked, right? And it's like, yeah, but we all kind of got over that after Citadel.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm giving it a 7.
All right. Honestly, I'm not that far behind you because I feel like this was the most fun I had with the DLC for a Mass Effect game. I guess all the Mass Effect games because Andromeda doesn't have any. So yeah, I guess. I don't think I could give it a 7 because if we're like comparing, like if we're having the same scale on Mass Effect as we are Dragon Age, I love all 3 of the Dragon Age DLC story expansions, and I still am not a huge fan of Omega. So I guess I would give it a 6. But like they're solid. They're all real good. I don't even hate Omega. It's like whatever. I don't like. If I never played it again, I don't think I would be missing much. Whereas, like, I would want to experience Leviathan again. I want to do Citadel again. I like Javid. I'd get him again. Omega, So, I would give it a 6. But it's still very high. So. All right, I think that wraps that up, huh?
Mass Effect 3. Well, Mass Effect 3, the Mass Effect trilogy, even just me looking at the scores, I will just say this. It's very interesting, the scoring system that we came up with, and it's very interesting for me to score these 3 games.
Is it interesting?
Because, yeah, I think it is. It's our favorite word in the history of this podcast.
Is, yeah.
Mass Effect 3 rates kind of better than it is, and Mass Effect 2 really rates like better than it is. Like when you break it down into its constituent parts, it rates very highly, but more than any other game in the trilogy, Mass Effect 1 is more than the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to describe, and maybe not everybody feels that way about it, maybe that's just a me thing, but the lore and the world building of Mass Effect 1 to me is so good, and I think we absolutely take it for granted. And sadly, I think the Legendary Edition almost just makes people take it for granted even more because it sets up such a complex science fiction world and such a thoroughly deep science fiction world so easy and so effortlessly that people just go, yeah, of course. I mean, those are the species and those, like, do you know how hard it is to come up with an alien species?
I've seen the Angaran, I know.
Yo! Ho, ho, ho! Holy shit! I feel like we need that gif of the guy who tells the joke and then he throws himself backwards into all the guys. Like, god damn.
I don't
you're right.
Yeah. You know.
You're right. You're exactly right. It's hard even for Bioware.
Yeah.
That's funny, but that's actually a really great point, right? Like, even Bioware can't seem to do it again.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's
all of the aliens on Mass Effect series, solid. Angaran, don't give a shit.
That's how hard it is. And that's why, to me, Mass Effect is hard to rate on paper, because it's not, you know, our categories are good for what they're good for, but it's like, it's really hard to capture how much Mass Effect did in building a believable science fiction universe. And then ME2 and ME3 deserve credit for iterating on it, but the foundation is worth so much more than what you can capture in a number.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Mass Effect 2, it's like, it rates very highly is what I think Mass Effect 2 is our high, at least for me, it was my highest one.
I didn't actually do the number crunching, so I'll have to do it later. But yeah, I think next we're going to be doing Inquisition, and then we do want to do Andromeda. I'm actually starting a new Andromeda playthrough, which I will already say, like, I know I wasn't a fan of it at the time, but especially now that I have a kid, playing Andromeda is so hard, because if I start any story mission, I know I can't do anything else, because I can't, like, save and quit in the middle of story missions, and that kills me. It's so hard to want to play. It's like, well, because I only have an hour, and like I might be able to get done in an hour, but if I don't, then I have to leave my computer running for like 6 more hours until I can play again. I don't really want to do that. So like, it's just a whole situation.
Yeah, it's not great. They need to figure something out for that.
They're not going
figure
to
it out. They're still gonna do a patch. God, that's a game where like I really wish somebody at EA would just be like, look, don't ask Bioware to do it. Just get that EA, whatever they're called now, EA, what used to be Bioware Montreal, right?
Oh, yeah. What is that called now?
Motive?
I think so.
I think is what they're calling it. Like, just literally get those folks to spend like a very, relatively small amount of time touching. I honestly still think that would be beneficial for the franchise, like before Mass Effect 5 comes out.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, with that, unless there's something else, where can people find you?
The folks can find me at the Exalted March on YouTube, I guess, kind of on Twitter, and that's about it. Caitie, where can the folks find you?
You can find me as Ghildirthalen on Twitter and YouTube. And with that, everyone, Doresh Shirol.